Welcome friends to MGL Tech Tutorials new session. In this video we are going to cover anonymous inner classes in very simple words. Okay, so we are aware of, like, when we heard about the anonymous class, right, we feel it's a very scary concept, difficult to understand, it has such a weird syntax. But in this video we are going to understand it in a very simple way, and you will find it is very simple. It's not really that scary as much we were thinking earlier. Okay, so we will start first of all with what is anonymous inner class. Then we will also cover few tutorials actually to understand how we can implement it in various ways, like either using interface or abstract or concrete classes. Then inside method or constructor, if you have to define it, how you would do it. Then the last point we are going to cover to understand it, how it is different from our traditional normal classes. Okay, so going back to the definition of this anonymous class, if I tell you, right, in Java you are aware about the nested classes. So what is a nested class? Basically, as name suggests, in Java a class can contain in another class known as a nested. So that is a nested, right? So it is possible to create a nested class without giving any name. And when we give a nested class that doesn't have any name, that's called as an anonymous class. So anonymous class is something, from the name again you can say, right, anonymous class is something which don't have any name, and it must be defined inside another class or interface or a method or constructor. Hence it is known as an anonymous inner class. So generally it's an anonymous class and anonymous inner class. Why it's not just anonymous class? Why it is like anonymous inner class? Because we are generally define it inside either a class, interface, or a method or constructor, right? So that's why it is an anonymous inner class. Now going back to the implementation of, so let's understand how I can do it. So let's do it like this. So for just to demonstrate this, right, I'm going to create a one class name as anonymous inner class sample. Okay, so within that class we will try to implement all of these three ways which I just mentioned, right? So we'll just use same thing and we will try to implement each of these to understand in practical. So let me create a void method void main method, so that we can initialize all the objects which we are going to use, right? So now my this anonymous IC sample class is ready to demonstrate the anonymous concept. So as I said, there are three ways you can implement, either using an interface or using an abstract class or inside a method or a constructor. Before going to anonymous class, let's understand, like I have already created one model object for us. So I have one interface called as a currency, okay, and it has one of the variable, okay, so which is variable called as a convert. So we are also going to see how the variables works with the anonymous. And then I have a one method called as a convert method, okay, and for this my currency I have a two concrete implementation, right? So this interface you can consider as an interface or one of the abstract class as well as an example, and then the specialized classes like a euro and rupees for my currency class I have created, right? So I'm going to use these classes only to demonstrate our first point, that is using interface. But prior that, in a traditional way, when we go to our creation of object, right, if I have to use my currency class, currency is an interface, right? So if I have to use the euro class, and call its method, so within a euro you will find, so basically currency only have a one method called as a convert, and within euro I have defined those as very simple, just for a demonstration, right? Convert, this is like converting to the euro currency, and my rupees class is actually doing converted to the rupees currency. So I have for this interface to concrete implementation. Now I want to use my euro class here in traditional way. How I would do, so I, rather than coding to the class, I will code towards the interface. So that is our solid principle says in Java, right? So I'm using currency, as I know I'm going to create for object of euro currency, so I will use it as a euro only name. And when I call euro dot convert method, because it has only one method implementation, right? And if I run it, what is I expect to run it? As it is an interface, I'm extending euro class, right? So whatever method definition here, that should be printed. So what should I expect here? It should be printing converted to the euro currency. If I see my output here, converted to the euro currency, very simple, right? I'm creating object of euro, so it is implementing. Now same thing, using our anonymous class, if I have to implement it, right? How I have to do it? So let's try with the interface as first example. So I will use again same thing, currency. So let me copy it here. I will say currency class, or you can say I'm gonna create anonymous class, right? So I will name it as anonymous class using interface, correct? So that is going to be my name of class. You can have anything, whatever you want to name it, right? Then I will say new currency. I'm trying to create an anonymous class using interface. So I just mentioned currency. Have you saw this? Like if you're using any IDE, IntelliJ or Eclipse, right? It will auto give you this definition. And what you have to do is here simply the semicolon you have to complete. Or right, it is something like the same implementation. Here if you are giving a currency, right? So after your this double bracket, right? So instead of this semicolon before, you are just defining a definition of it. That's what you are going to do. Understand? So if you see the syntax here, it is exactly same as I'm using a interface. So currency, new currency. Then this is my object creation. Is it really going to create an object of currency? No, right, because it is an interface. So interface won't be created, but it is trying to extend this currency interface and create an anonymous class for me. And that anonymous class will contain everything, all the methods which need implementation, right? So that's what it has created. And at the rate override, it is something we are extending from interface, our anonymous class implementation. So at the rate override this particular method. So it's a special extension from this currency object. And here I can give anything what I want, right? So I can give something like this only inside this, but I will just say, converted or, created, converted to the new currency using anonymous class. Right, now if I run this, before running this I have to use this name, right? So this is my object which is got created, and I'm going to use it like this. So I'm going to call my method. So now will it call the similar like this, or it will have a method of this? So basically in your anonymous classes you are trying to override the method which is provided by currency with its own implementation, with your own implementation. So my expected output now should be, if I run this, it will give me for this similarly like euro converted, but for my anonymous class using interface, it will give me converted to the new currency using anonymous class. Simple, isn't it? Okay, let's move to the new example. The second way was about abstract or concrete classes, right? So I know I already have this euro and the rupees as my concrete class for my currency, right? Currency interface. I will use the same one for demonstrating here. So how I will do it? I will say euro, right? So this is again I'm gonna create an anonymous class using concrete or abstract interface. So I'm just using that abstract class. So concrete class I'm using. I'm doing new euro, but I don't want to use it as it. I want to override the functionality provided by euro using my anonymous feature in Java. So I will just have this. If you observe the syntax, right, before instead of semicolon I gave the curly brace start, curly brace end, and it's gonna complete with this semicolon. Now what I want to do, I want to implement the method which was there in a euro. I want to override with my own implementation using my anonymous class. So what I have to do, I have to implement the method which is defined in euro. In euro, what method is defined? Public void convert. So I will use same public void convert. Okay, and I will try to implement it. and it is always a good practice to use the @override, because you are actually extending the feature provided by this existing class, but you are giving your own implementation. Yeah, so inside this again I can give the similar comment, but this time using a concrete or abstract class implementation. So I am using here anonymous classes, new currency using anonymous class, anonymous class using concrete class. So I am using it using a concrete class. So now if I run this implementation, to use this I have to use it, right, to see the output. So I will use this object, right, and I will call now convert. So what is expected? Will it give me like converted to the euro? No, because I'm overriding using that with my special implementation. So expected is that it should give me this output only. So if you see in the output, you will find now my third implementation give me output like this: converted a new currency using anonymous class using concrete class. Can you see here? Using concrete class. Okay. So this is the second way of implementing the anonymous class, that is using the abstract or concrete classes. Clear? Now let's move to the inside method constructor, but before that let's even revisit our variables, how variables will be used. So if you see in euro, there is one variable I declare called as a convert rate, and also in my currency there is also one more variable which will be public static final by default, as it is in the interface, right? It has a certain value 100. Let me print those values here. So if I using this class, right, so I will remove this one the traditional way as of now. So, or let's keep it, I will keep it as simple just to make sure euro, and then second implementation you see, right, how it is done, the euro. The interface level I will try to keep it down so that we can have a comparison if we want to compare it. So if you see, this is something traditional way you are extending it and you are printing it. Now I'm using my anonymous classes, I'm using concrete class and overriding that method and convert. Now here if I can access this variable which is defined inside this class, why not? As you are extending the functionality of that particular class, you can definitely access it, provided the the visibility of that variable is there. So the basic level visibility that's provided by basic Java programming language concept wise, right? So even if I give here a convert rate and I say this, no error, right? I'm absolutely able to access. It's just the case, right? If it has a private or default access, then it will have some problem. So if I remove this, right, so it will have a problem here. It might not able to access it. So can you see this euro is here. Now why it is not giving problem? Reason, it is taking from the private main currency object, right? So my interface also have this convert rate as a variable. Now I have only one variable inside this and I am trying to access it here, so which is under my euro class. So can you see, it is now saying me the error because it's not a public, you cannot access. So depending on the accessibility of your variable visibility, that based on that you can definitely access it here without any problem in anonymous classes, just like your normal traditional classes. Okay, so let me make it again default, or I can say just protected because it is a different package, right? So protected should be enough. I don't have to make it public as such. I will keep it protected. Let's see whether error is gone. Yes, it is gone. There is no error. And if I run it, right, it will show me what is the value in euro. It is here 89. So I expect in my log I should be able to see the value as the 89 here. Can you see? 89 is there. So if that value is not defined inside my euro class, right, and it is somewhere in my parent, so obviously it will use from my interface, right? If I'm defining here, that's our normal basic object oriented programming Java concept, right? So it's nothing different in case of even the anonymous. Purpose is to show there is no difference with the anonymous. With that you can definitely access if it is accessible from your concrete class. So right now in my euro class there is no definition of the convert rate variable, but that is present in my currency, so I can access that one. But what is the case if I have in both place, right? In currency as well the same variable is declared, and even in the euro. So in euro it is 89 and in currency it is 100. So which variable you think it will override? Obviously if you are creating object of euro, it will use the value from the euro only, not from the main interface, right? So that is again our traditional way of Java programming, right? There is nothing special in case of the anonymous class as such. So I think we are clear with the how the even the variable used in case of anonymous classes. There is no difference with respect to that as well. Now going back to the third implementation style, which we initially talk about, right? How can I do inside a method or a constructor if I have to define a anonymous class? So for that I will take example of thread class. You all have heard about the thread class, right? So we have a thread class, the multi-threading programming concept within Java, right? So I'm creating one T1 object from thread class, new thread. And what thread class take as a parameter? This is also right way of implementing, creating a thread, but I can also use the runnable interface here. So I'm using a new runnable. I'm taking this example to show you, how to define a anonymous classes using a constructor or a method. For that purpose I'm using this example. So if you have noticed, when I say new runnable, it given me this override public void run. So this is what it is trying to do. Within a runnable there is only one method run, so which is trying to override. So is it about only single method? Not really. Any number of method provided in your base class, you can override them, have your own implementation. If you are only overriding two methods you are not implementing, it will use from your parent class. So you don't have to override everything, but you can have something extra. You can have your own methods as well. It's same the concept of our inheritance in Java, even with the anonymous classes as well. There is no difference. So now just to demonstrate this, I will just say new thread created using inside method or constructor declaration. Inside method or constructor declaration for anonymous classes, anonymous inner classes. Okay, and now it's the same way I have to use it. To use it, I will use this T1 as object, right? So this T1 object I'm gonna do the start. So here I am creating a new thread using constructor of thread class inside a method. So the syntax is little different. If you notice here, I say new currency, this angular bracket, okay, round bracket, inside this curly brace start, curly brace end, and semicolon. That's how my definition for interface and even for the concrete or abstract class. In case of method or constructor, my declaration is going to be inside a constructor of new thread. So there is a angular bracket, new runnable method, then I have a curly brace, end of curly brace means closing curly brace, and again angular bracket and semicolon. So that is the only syntax. So this is angular, round bracket, angular bracket, round bracket, semicolon. So that is how the syntax side is different, but remaining all things are same. All rules reply exactly the same. Let's run this example to understand it again whether it's working. Now it should give me, along with remaining other our system out print and statement, this will also be there. That is a new thread created using a method or constructor declaration for anonymous inner class. Clear? So we have now understood the different way of implementing anonymous classes as well. Now let's understand again, just a revision I can say, then how it is different from regular, or you can say the traditional way of the Java classes with anonymous classes. normal class, or you can say the traditional classes, can implement any number of interface, right? Inside this I can have extend one more extra class, because Java only given the single level of class level inheritance, right? So I can extend one more class, and I can implement multiple interfaces, because that's what the Java is provided. But problem with our anonymous class is that you cannot extend. You can only extend either a interface or a class, but you cannot have a multiple, right? And it is a inner class, and that is without name, and for which only single object is created always. But your Euro class, right, this class you can create as many instances as you want by calling them like this, the way we shown in initial level. So I can create number of object, declaring similar way, Euro, then Euro 1, Euro 2. I can create number of instances, but with the anonymous class I can only create a single object, and basically it is without name. So as it is not doesn't have any name, you cannot have even a constructor for anonymous classes. But with the traditional classes you can have a constructor, right? So for anonymous class you don't have any name, so you cannot even create a constructor for it. So these are three main differences when you compare with the traditional classes, our anonymous class. So I hope things are clear, and that's all we had as an agenda of this class. And I hope you will feel anonymous class is not really that scary as much we were thinking earlier, right? Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video or learned something, please let me know by liking this video, or just subscribing to my channel for giving you more interesting videos. And next video I'm going to cover about the lambda expression and functional interfaces in Java 8, right? So it is something introduced inside a Java 8. So I'm going to cover in my next session that one. Till that time, enjoy and keep learning. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much.